I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got music on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody's hands go.
Hi all, BaldPhill here with another Rant Football. This will be about round 4 games. And I'm telling you now, my dog has this skill of deciding to come in the room and move on into it when I start recording. Anyway, we're going to go about round 4 games. We had our predictions and we're going to talk about the games in general. So here we go. So the first game of the weekend was Southampton versus Manchester United. Now that was a 1-1 draw. But I think as it went, it was half time. It was 1-0 to Man United. Daniel James scored a beauty top corner goal. He's looking like a very good sign in a very poor United lineup right now. Pretty much United did control most of the game, I believe, and but they're missing something. Something's not right there personally right now. I think it could be down to Solskjaer. I think his experience as manager maybe not good enough, may not be a strong enough character for them players. Well, as we say, they did get back into the game in the second half. Southampton, they got it back to 1-0 in the 58th minute. Southampton, 25 minutes at the end of the game, had to survive with 10 men as Danson got sent off, I believe, for a straight red. I'm not sure if it was a straight red or 2 bookable offences, but he was sent off. United kept on picking but couldn't find a way through, and the game ended a 1-1. United, I believe, this is the wake-up call for their fans. They're in the same predicament as Chelsea still. The squads ain't good enough for what we've got. Both clubs have got used to. And I think Man City's rebuilding needs to be done. I think they need to need a spine. United's spine is, well, it's weird. They haven't really got the strikers. Pogba, if he just woke up, would be a brilliant midfielder. Maguire centre-back, and De Gea is great. I think Maguire needs another better centre-back partner, and pretty much Man United need a better defence with him. And then United need to find a striker up front, and they would have a spine what all successful teams have, and United and Chelsea haven't got. Well, we move on to the other games of the weekend, and we had Manchester City versus Brighton. We all knew this was going one way. Man City were going to walk over them. Man City did walk over them. Aguero, the best striker in the Premier League for the last 3-4 years, in my opinion. The guy's unbelievably good. He doesn't disappear towards the end of the season. He just scores and scores and scores. You just don't know how to stop him. He scores inside and outside the area. He's assisting goals as well. Brilliant. Obviously, it was 4-0 to Man United full time. The goals were from Kevin De Bruyne at 2 minutes. Chelsea, the biggest mistake they ever made was selling that guy. A brace for Aguero. And Laporte got a yellow card in the game. Sorry, I'm just having problems with my screen. I think it was Bernardo Silva, 79th minute, who got the 4th, for City and wrapped the game up quite easily. They probably could have had more and should have had more. Yeah, it was Laporte, and the assists in the games were David Silva, 2 and 55 minutes. I'm not sure how he had so many assists if it ended 4-0, but okay. 2 and 55 minutes, Kevin De Bruyne on 42 minutes, and Sergio Aguero with his assist in the game as well, when he could have gone for his hat-trick. So yeah, full time, 4-0 to Manchester City. We go on to West Ham's game. The Irons are now starting to find form, I believe. Unfortunately, they're starting to look really good. As I said, the acquisitions, I say every video, are good. Their striker looks brilliant. Norwich, I thought this was going to end 2-2. Norwich didn't really show up. I don't like Norwich's black kit either. It looks crap. Sebastian Haller scored 24th minute, and Yaminenko, I believe, 56 minutes. So, yeah, West Ham won that easily 2-0 at home against Norwich City. So West Ham are now starting to find a bit of form. The next game was my beloved Chelsea blowing it as per normal this season. We can't defend. I'm not even going to go into it anymore. Defending's terrible. Tammy Abraham put Chelsea 2-0 up at half time, 19 and 43 minutes. First goal was the goalkeeper's mistake. Abraham took it well. Second goal, both defenders went for the ball. Mucked up. Tammy Abraham yet again took it well. So that's 3 goals in 2 games for the youngster. It's only confidence for him up front. The defence, absolutely shoddy. Felt sorry for Tomori. Didn't think he did much wrong. Asbell, something's wrong with him. He's not been right most of last season. This season he seems to be out of form. Zuma needs to be dropped. Too many goals have been his mistakes, I think, this season. Yes, he scored an own goal yesterday, and anyone could do that, but I just think his positional and sense needs to be faster. He loses players too easily, I think. Chelsea, as I said, were 2-0 up, and then Robinson, straight after half-time on the 46 minutes, Chelsea need to wake up. And the Zuma own goal on the 89th minute made it 2-2 full time. I just want to get into something here. Zuma just scored an own goal. Well, I'm not happy with the way he's defended. I don't know if it's confidence or he just needs time to bed in, but he's got to get it sorted soon. We're back to this point again, and it's him and Romelu Lukaku. Lukaku got racism from the fans in the game he played this weekend for Inter Milan. He even scored. It's not his fans, the opposition fans. Doing monkey chants and that in Italy is disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself. UEFA, FIFA, FAs of the countries, it's time to step up and do something now. Racism is out of control. Zuma got it as well for the own goal online, I believe. Yet again, it's disgusting. Way I'm going to put this, the only colour in football is the colour your team is wearing. When are you people going to get this in your head? If you're a Chelsea fan, we are blue. We are all blue together, no matter where the person is from. Okay. So hashtag FU racism. So we move on to Newcastle versus Watford. A 1-1 draw. Up and down the pitch a lot. Newcastle had a lot of chances. Doesn't know how to take them, unfortunately. But that's going to be a problem for this season if they don't start taking their chance. But these two near the bottom, probably a fair result was 1-1. They both needed a point, really. And it finally gets Watford underway. As I said, Watford took a very early lead in 2 minutes. And 41st minute, Shaw or something like that. Short, I can't say the name, is the Newcastle centre-back, scored a lovely goal. Keep got a hand to it, maybe should have saved, but, full-time 1-1 in that game. Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa. Well, that game was 1-0, but that's not really what I want to talk about, is the score. It was, as I said, 1-0 to Crystal Palace. Ayew scored in the 73rd minute. Trezeguet was sent off 54th minute for 2 bookable offences. Kevin Friend and co, referee. Time to be held accountable. The Aston Villa player, I can't think of his name all of a sudden. Jack Grealish. He is known for a bit of diving, but the decision you gave for him when you said he dived, and you can clearly see it was a foul, it was disgusting. You disallowed their goal as well, and then to just to really punch him in the nose, you gave him a yellow card for diving when it was a clear penalty. You're terrible. That's my dog. You're terrible at this, I'm afraid to say. It was a terrible decision. The point of VAR is a waste of time. I know you're meant to say it's a clear mistake by the referee. Well, that is a clear mistake, and that's when VAR's meant to be used. If you're not going to, thank you, Ace. If you're not going to use it, for God's sake, just get rid of it altogether now. Because what's annoying football fans is 1 minute you're saying you're using it to every decision, the next minute you're not using it for hardly any. Let's get somewhere and tell us what you want. Referees, I think after games, 30, 40 minutes after a game, you should come out and have an interview and explain your decisions. I think it's only fair. Players and managers have to come out and explain stuff in games and be held accountable. So should you. It's time to stop. I know you're saying, oh no, referees need protecting. No, they don't. They're getting paid enough. They're professionals now. And as a professional, they should be held accountable for their mistakes. I don't even care about this game. I'm sick of bad refereeing. VAR's not going to improve the game if the referees can't be held accountable. So that's pretty much all I've got to say about that one. We move on to Leicester City versus Bournemouth. Leicester City, as I've always said, we're going to be a top 6 fighter this year, and they're really starting to prove it now. The full-time score in this one was 3-1 Leicester City. We had goals from Vardy and I can't say his name, Brighton either. 12 and 73 minutes, my dog's getting on my nerves. 12 and 73 minutes for Jamie Vardy. Brighton scored in the 40th. It wasn't Brighton who scored, was it? It was Telemans? Yes, Telemans scored in the 41st minute. And obviously 15 minutes in the game, Callum Wilson got a goal for Bournemouth, but didn't really make a difference. Full time, 3-1 to Leicester City. Just a quick ad break. If you didn't know, I also do a podcast. So if you're into Orlando, check out the Orlando Addict podcast by BaldPhill, where we talk all things Orlando, theme parks and other attractions around the area. Tune in and listen to the Orlando Addict podcast on all good podcast networks. So we move on to the Liverpool game now. We all knew the scoreline was going to be a thrashing, and we knew Liverpool would win easy. It was full-time 3-0 to Liverpool. An own goal by Chris Woods on the 33rd minute does not help scoring own goals against big teams, by the way. Mane scored on the 37th and Firmino scored on the 8th. But this is not what I want to talk about again. What I want to talk about is the dent in the armour, maybe, between Salah and Mane. Mane lost it with Salah quite clearly in the game, and Salah was greedy. Something's not quite right there, I think. That seemed, you're 3-0, why are you worrying about another goal for yourself? I believe there's something behind the scenes we don't all know about between them two, and I think it will come to fruition sooner or later. Otherwise, Liverpool dominant again, the only team who can't stop winning in the Premier League. And then we move on to Sunday's games. We had Everton versus Wolves. This was a banger for goals. Goal. Both teams obviously defend like Chelsea. It was full-time 3-2 to Everton, and half-time it was 2-1 to Everton. So we had goals from, give me a few seconds. Why it doesn't want to load. Right, so we started off with a 9th minute goal from Sayers or something like that. Sayers, whatever his name is, 9th minute for Wolves. Wolves seem to have a hell of a lot of bookings in this game. I'm trying to just figure out. Yeah, it's 3-2. We got so the earliest goal was actually Richardson, 5th minute, and then Wolves got it back to 1-0, and then Iwobi made it 2-1 in 12 minutes. Bloody hell, these goals are flying in. 75 minutes, looks like it was 2-2, and then the 80th minute, Everton won it 3-2. Sorry, I'm not looking forward to this one. It's really confusing. There's so many bookings in it. They've mixed them all together. Really unprofessional Premier League page. Put the bookings to the side and have the goals on their own so we can figure it out. So loads of goals gone in. And Wolves are having a terrible start to the season, I think. I'm not sure what's missing with them right now. They're nowhere near their best. They've got to wake up very soon. Another team's got to wake up. Then we move on to the game of the weekend, the North London derby. I did on Sunday predict that Tottenham would go 2-0 up and it would end 2-2 on the Half and Half Scarves podcast Facebook page. Join it if you're into football and a bit of banter. Guess what? This man's right. So Spurs were 2-0 up with Christian Eriksen in the 10th minute. And Harry Kane with a penalty in the 40th minute. Yet again, David Luiz looked like he's still at Chelsea. He's ropey and terrible. And I'm now starting to see Arsenal fans turning against him. What's quite funny, because they tried to justify to me what a great signing he was for 8 million. Just before half-time, Lacazette got it back to 1-0. Great little goal there. Then Socrates in the 87th, not Socrates. Agbaniang, the other great striker, made it 1-1. I mean 2-2. Wow, I am really mucking up today, aren't I? Made it 2-2, and that's pretty much full-time score. There was a little scuffle in the second half between both teams, acting like punts and pansies. It's not like the good old days of fight when players would punch each other. Now they're just like push, all armoured. Yeah, I'm happy with the score as a Chelsea fan. With Man United as well, we were in trouble with all these teams. One of these two won today, and Man United won. We're still in contention for the top 4. And if we look at the league table, if I can get it up, of course it'll be really hard to find. We're going to have a look at the table right now. So behind me somewhere the table will come up. We've got first place with 4 games and 4 wins, Liverpool on the maximum of 12 points. Second place, Man City with 4 wins, 1 draw. So they're not lost though, on 10 points. Then we've got Leicester in third on 8 points. Then we've got a few teams, I believe Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Everton and West Ham on 7 points. Man United, Tottenham, Sheffield United and Chelsea are on 5 points. Then we go on to the bottom part more when we've got quite a lot of teams on 4 points. What would be Bury, Southampton, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Brighton. No, not Brighton. Brighton are on 3 points with Brighton, Wolves and Aston. I think Brighton are on 4 points. I can't see the league properly. All laugh today because I really have made the butchers of this, haven't I? Then we have Wolves, Aston Villa and Norwich on 3 points. On bottom of the table with their first point of the season, Watford. We go into a little international break now. I can't stand these. I would rather we had midweek. They were played midweek and we had the weekend or something. I know you've got to have 2 internationals. You've got to have like Euro qualifiers and pointless friendlies. I feel like I'm not a fan of internationals where they break up the Premier League season. If you're in good form, it could affect you. If you're in bad form, it could help. But I just don't like it. So yeah, that's the league table. We're now going to go and move across to the predictions between me and everyone else and see how we all got on. Next video will be out in a couple of weeks. Round 5 of Premier League predictions. Simon will be back again. He needs to be back because Simon, this round coming up, you're going to see, mate, step up your game. Quick plug to the Simon Says podcast. That's Simon Says pod. And we've got the Half and Half Scarves podcast. Please subscribe to both of them. Listen to them. If you do it on Apple, subscribe, comment, give it 5 stars, both of them. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Well, we've got to the part of the show now you've all been waiting for. The prediction results, I should say, between me, Drew and Simon. One man that I think's already won this without even looking at Sunday's results yet. He had a blinder on Saturday and literally got everything right. It's not me, it's between the other two, and I'm not going to tell you, we're just going to check it now. So let's have a look and see who won. So this is the part you'll enjoy. You don't see my ugly mug for a bit. So let's get through Saturday's score, shall we? So we'll start off with the early game. It was Southampton versus Manchester United. Full time was 1-1. Phil scored it 2-1 to Man United, 0 points. Drew scored it 0-0. He actually got 2 points. Simon scored it 2-1 to Man United also, 0 points. We move on to the 3 PM games now. We had Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa. Full time was 1-0. I'm going to add a little video to prove that I did predict this after a while, because I've got to do it in the main YouTube predictions, but I've got a video to prove I did it just before kick-off of the Chelsea game.
Yeah,
anyway, it was Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa. Full time 1-0.
Now I think it's going to be 1-0 to Crystal Palace. And proof, look, games ain't kicked off yet. There's Solskjaer making excuses up. There's Chelsea in the tunnel waiting for their game against Sheffield United. So you can't say I didn't predict it if I get it right. So Crystal Palace 1, Aston Villa 0.
So let's get back into these predictions. Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa, full time 1-0. Phil scored it 1-0 to Crystal Palace, 3 points. Drew scored it 1-0, 0 points. Simon scored it 1-0, 0 points. Chelsea versus Sheffield United, Full time 2-2, Chelsea can't defend. Phil scored it 3-1 to Chelsea, 0 points. Drew scored it 2-0 to Chelsea, 0 points. Simon scored it 3-2 to Chelsea, 0 points. Then we had Leicester City versus Bournemouth, full time 3-1. Phil scored it 0-0, 0 points. Drew scored it 2-1 to Leicester, so he got 2 points. And Simon scored it 2-0 to Leicester, so he got 2 points. We move on to Manchester City versus Brighton, full time 4-0. Phil scored it 4-0, 3 points. Drew scored it 3-1, 2 points. Simon scored it 4-1, 2 points. Newcastle versus Watford, full time was 1-0. Phil went 1-0, 0 points. Drew scored it 1-0, got the 3 points. Simon scored it 1-0, 0 points. West Ham versus Norwich, full time 2-0. Phil scored it 2-0, 0 points. Drew scored it 3-1, 2 points, because he went for West Ham. Simon scored it 2-0, 0 points. Then we had the last game on Saturday, Burnley versus Liverpool. Full time was Burnley 0, Liverpool 3. Phil scored it 0-4 to Liverpool, 2 points. Drew scored it 2-1 to Liverpool, 2 points. Simon scored it.
So we move into Sunday's games. It was Everton versus Wolves, full time 3-2 to Everton. Phil predicted 1-0, 0 points. Drew scored it 2-0, 0 points. Simon scored it 1-0, 0 points. Moving to the only other game on Sunday and the game of the weekend, Arsenal versus Tottenham, full time 2-2. I've got a little story here. In the Half and Half Scarves podcast Facebook page, join it people. Colin French asked what people would happen. I predicted that the score would be 2-0 to Tottenham and Arsenal would peg it back to 2-2. Exactly what happened. I am a superstar. But here we go. So Phil scored it 2-2, 3 points. Drew scored it 3-1 to the Arsenal, 0 points. And Simon scored it 0-0, 2 points. So let's have a look at our predictions round 4 table. Well, Drew has got the highest points ever so far. He's in first place with 13 points. I've got the second highest points ever, 11 points. So that put me second. And in last place after him, not being happy, me decided to put him third last week. Well, yeah, definitely third this time, Simon, on a measly 8 points. So as I said, first Drew 13, second me with 11, and then Simon with 8 points. Well, I think Simon has had an abysmal week and hopefully he can make up for it the next time he's on. And I hopefully can nick back first spot again.
All I do is win.